Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakodash, double honors unto the elders and apostles, great milestone of Rubal, and Shalom to all of Akim. Teaching this word is specifically to the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel and the rest of the elect destined to be saved. I'm the brother Caleb from the GMS England. London forecasters count back with another lesson to help edify the elect, those of which I spoke of. Always like to start by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites, the real Israelites, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, West Africans, predominantly, but you will find Israelites that do look like the other nations because we as a people have been scattered among all the nations through various captivities. But if your seed line by your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible named Israel, then you too are an Israelite no matter what you may look like, because Numbers 1 and 18 tells you that your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers. So I saw this screenshot from the brother Amawanga Bar's channel, GMS Awakening 144. I suggest you subscribe to that channel if you're not already subscribed. A lot of edifying videos that brothers puts out. But he put this caption out. It says, because we're in the end. And now this is something we was talking about in the main camp on Saturday, about how we're in the last days. And how do we know that we're in the last days? One of the reasons is because we measure the times according to prophecy, as it's told in 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter. Let me just get that quickly for a second. Hang on. Second Ezra 9, starting at verse 1, says, he answered me then, and says, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So this screenshot I was showing here, it says, because we're in the end, and he quotes Daniel 12 verse 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up. Let me read it actually in the scriptures. I'm going to have to get it here. Daniel 12 verse 4. It says, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. So that was a prophecy told to Daniel. And Daniel lived in the Babylonian Empire. So we've had a number of empires since then. You had Daniel was in Babylonian. You had the Medes and the Persians, which had been the Medo-Persian Empire. Then you had the Greek Empire. Then you had the first Roman Empire, and it's full. And now we're in the revival of the Roman Empire, the second leg of it. So, which is interesting because if you think about the prophecy of the statue Daniel saw, when it referred to the legs and the feet as being the Roman Empire, a person has two legs. So, it makes sense that that prophecy would fit for the times that we're in. Because, as I said, we're in the second leg and the final stages of that second Roman Empire. So, going back to what I was showing before, it says, technology went from this in the 1800s, which is a horse and a carriage, to this in 200 years, but went from here, which is again horses and chariots, to horses and chariots in 1,500 years. So this screenshot in itself is a proof that knowledge is being increased. And these are indeed the last days, because as I read in Daniel 12 and 4, that was the prophecy. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. So the technology to fly, that came along, was it early 1900s with the Wright brothers, if I'm not mistaken? So Esau hasn't even had this kind of technology for very long. But the Most High has given him this technology so that he can fulfill the prophecies. Because the prophecies have to go down according to prophecy. What is it? Revelation 12? Let me get that quickly. talking about there being war in heaven, meaning that there's going to be the chariots of the Lord. Hang on. Yeah, Revelation 12 verse 7 says, and there is war in heaven. A lot of Christians break this down the wrong way. Let me break it down correctly. And there is war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Now that's not talking about some, mythological flying winged serpent fighting against the archangel Michael in the sky. That's talking about, if you can envision it, an aerial dogfight between the chariots of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, which is what the world ignorantly calls UFOs, and the military, what do they call that? The Air Force, trying to fight against those chariots. So that's Satan and his angels, meaning Esau, fighting with his angels, which would be his military in their jets, against the Most High's military, which is the angels in their chariots, which is what the world ignorantly calls UFOs. Now, I want to touch upon the word chariot because some years ago, many years ago now actually, must have been like, late 2017 it probably was. There's a guy I used to know in the world, Jake, and obviously this is when I was, just coming into following GMS and stuff. And I was trying to tell him the truth, as you do, when you're young in this thing, the spirit is on you to, tell all your family members, or at least your immediate family members, and, friends that you might know in the world that are Jake. At the end of the day, it's, usually none of them listen, but that's just part of what happens when a brother comes into this truth, because it's a learning process. So I was still young, but in a way it was good that I told him about this truth, because when I told him about it and I saw his reaction, that let me know he was 100% a nigger and that I should stop associating myself with him. So I was breaking down certain things of the scriptures to him and he couldn't get it. And he stumbled at some very simple things. For example, he couldn't get his head around the fact that there was a great flood which destroyed the earth, and that Noah was able to get the animals into the ark. He's like, nah, nobody could do that. Nah, it's impossible. It don't make no sense. How could there be a flood? He just couldn't get it. And a second thing that he couldn't get is when I told him that what the world ignorantly refers to as UFOs are actually are known as chariots in the scriptures. And he's like, nah, that's not talking about that. That's just talking about a horse and cart. And, that's not what the word chariot means. And I broke it down to him. I was like, look, man, the word chariot just means a vehicle. It's this old way of describing, a vehicle. It could be a horse and carriage. It could be a four-wheeled car. It could be an airplane. It's a chariot. He's like, nah, you're reading it wrong. You're not understanding it. It's talking about horses and carts and stuff like that. Well, look, man. I cursed his ass out, but I'm going to show this for edification's sake, because there may be people who get confused by that term. This is from dictionary.com, definition of chariot, right? It says a light two-wheeled vehicle for one person, usually drawn by two horses. Yeah, okay, that's an ancient chariot. And driven from a standing position, used in ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome, etc., in warfare, racing, hunting, etc. But check this out. A light four-wheeled pleasure carriage. What is a light four-wheeled pleasure carriage? That would be a car. How many wheels does a car have? 4. Do people drive cars for pleasure? Yes, they do. Do they not race cars around racetracks? Just in the same way they race horses? Or people, lots of people drive for recreation. Obviously, some people drive for necessity to get from point A to point B. But the fact of the matter is that a car is indeed a chariot. Verse definition 3, any steady carriage. Verse definition 4, facetious, an automobile. There you go. What's an automobile? A car. To convey in a chariot Definition 6, to ride or drive a chariot. There you go. Is it Psalms 104:3 that comes to my mind? Let me check that. No, that's not the one. Oh, Psalms 110, not Psalms 104. There we go. I'm going to read from verse 1. Psalms 104 from 1. Bless Yahweh, O my soul, O Yahweh, my power. Thou art very great, thou art clothed with honour and majesty, who coverest thyself with light as with a garment, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot. So another definition for UFO would be a cloud, because they can conceal themselves within clouds, right? And he refers to them as his chariot. So that's what the angels traveling, who walketh upon the wings of the wind, who maketh his angel spirits, his ministers, a flaming fire. So going back to what I was saying, definition of chariot, the nigger in the world that I knew couldn't get it. But check this out. I was reading what comic was I reading? The X-Men comic, issue 2. I believe this is what, 1964. This comic came out. I can't remember the exact month, but this is X-Men, the original comic, issue 2 from 1964. And check what it says here. They're traveling in Professor. For those of you who know the X-Men, the young X-Men are traveling in one of Professor X's cars, right? For those of you who don't know, Professor X is the leader of the X-Men, right? And it says, but the time has not yet come for the angel to fly. Instead, the band of superhuman teenagers are driven to the airport in Professor Xavier's specially built Rolls Royce with its dark tinted windows. So they're being driven in Professor X's specially built Rolls Royce, which is a car. And from within the car, they're saying this: boy, it must have taken a heap of green stamps to buy a chariot like this. So they're referring to this car as a chariot. This is no joking, please. Concentrate on your missions, review your powers. Your foe is certain to be highly dangerous. So there you go. A car indeed can be referred to as a chariot. Likewise, a UFO can indeed be referred to as a chariot, because a chariot is just a sort of like a term for any vehicle, not just for, as I showed in this one, not just a horse and carriage. You know, it can be any vehicle, just like a sword doesn't necessarily mean a sharp metal blade. It could be any killing instrument. It could be a gun, it could be an arrow, it could be a missile, it could be a needle. You know, that it could be a heavy rock. You know, you could slay someone with, you know, throw a rock in their head and they die. You know, it's any killing instrument. Just like a chariot can refer to a vehicle that someone travels in. So that's essentially the point, man. And as I said, the idiot I was speaking to in the world, he didn't know nothing, man, and I disassociated from him soon after that. The scriptures say, actually, let me get this precept before I close out. Hold on a second. Just finding a precept here. Bear with me, I'm just looking for one here. There we, no. Bear with me a second, Salakia. There's a scripture talking about this departing from a man when he demonstrates that he doesn't have any wisdom. Yeah, this is the one. Well, it's not exactly the one, but it sums up my point. Let me get it. Sirach 22 verse 13 says this. Talk not much with a fool, and go not to him that have no understanding. Beware of him, lest thou have trouble, and thou shalt never be defiled with his fooleries. Excuse me. Depart from him, and thou shalt find rest, and never be disquieted with his madness. Actually, you know what? This precept's even better than the one I was thinking of, because that's why when I came into the knowledge of this truth, and I done what you might call a litmus test to see if friends I had in the world would be able to perceive or receive it. When I understood that they couldn't, you know, the shutters came down for me, and I disassociated myself from them. And this scripture is one of the reasons. Sirach 22 verse 13. Talk not much with a fool, and go not to him that hath no understanding. Beware of him, lest thou have trouble, and thou shalt never be defiled with his fooleries. Depart from him, and thou shalt find rest, and never be disquieted with his madness. What is heavier than lead, and what is the name thereof but a fool? There you go. So that guy was a fool, and you know, time has only proven more and more that a lot of what he said, when I reflect upon it, was absolute foolishness and madness. But hey, that's his lot. You know, he's just a Jake in the world. At the end of the day, I can't be too angry with him, because that's his lot. He's playing out his lot just like I'm playing out my lot, you know, of being a prophet and of the hopeful elect. So every man just doing what the Most High ordained them to do. And Lord willing, you know, when it all goes down, he's going to come back in the kingdom, and in his right mind, and he's going to be okay. You know, he's going to have to be destroyed on this side, but in the end, it will be good for him, as he'll come back in the kingdom, knowing that he's an Israelite and understanding who his powers are, being Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. And he'll look back on those conversations and see the foolishness and error of his ways. But as for right now, he's too proud and too stubborn to admit that he's wrong, and wants to stay as a nigger in the world. So let him play out his part. So yeah, that's just a quick lesson on that point. So once again, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well again. And once again, shalom to the 144,000 elect men of the nation, and the rest of the elect destined to be saved. And I will catch you on the next lesson, Lord willing. Shalom for now.